Hi, and welcome back to Jen and Dan's Natural Healing with Plants, the go-to podcast for holistic health seekers looking to harness the power of nature for health and healing. I'm Jen. I'm a passionate health educator, a whole food plant-based culinary coach, and a master herbalist. And I'm here with Dan, an exercise specialist and a wonderful master herbalist. Together, we dive into the world of natural healing, bringing you a wealth of knowledge and practical advice. We draw from both traditional wisdom and modern science with herbs and foods to help you achieve optimal health. So today we're talking about something that sounds a little boring until you realize that it affects so many programs around the world. And then people actually, they do refer to it. I know I used to, and I wasn't a part of one of these government programs, but it affects our school lunches. So many children, medical advice, federal nutrition programs, nursing homes, so many different things. And that is our dietary guidelines for Americans, which the 2025 version just came out. They redo it every 5 years, and a group gets together. They are supposed to only refer to nutritional science and not let industry and government programs get involved. But there's a lot of controversy around it. Every time, but especially this time. And one of the first things that comes to mind is how prominent animal products are on here. Meat and dairy have made a huge comeback, as well as increasing the daily protein needs of all of Americans. And at the same time, they're saying limit saturated fats. So let's talk about this, Dan.
Well, I find it funny that they're recommending to limit saturated fat when the top of the pyramid is meat and dairy. Do they not know where saturated fat comes from?
Exactly. Yeah. And I can't even remember how much cheese. Like if you ate just a basic cheese sandwich, you would exceed the saturated fat limits for the day. And that's without eating any meat for the day. And that cheese isn't
Yeah.
going to give you your protein needs either.
Well, and I heard, and I'm sure it's true, that when they were developing this updated pyramid, I heard there's a lot of people on that board that actually are cattle farmers and dairy people.
Yeah,
I
there's
mean, that wouldn't have anything to do with this new pyramid, would it?
Yeah, exactly. Well, and it used to be a pyramid. And then it was a really strange pyramid that I didn't understand for 5 years. And then it moved to the plates. And the plate is a lot more, is much more helpful. I mean, you really can see what it looks like on your plate. And so I'm not sure why they moved away from the plate and went back to the pyramid, except they're all older people who probably learned from the pyramid. Or that is what they most refer back to. But you're absolutely correct. They had someone who is big into pork, someone who is really big with beef. They had someone who has a supplement company, and it's okay for these people to be on these on here. But there has to be someone to counterbalance that. And so you can't just have everyone. The supplement person promotes protein type supplements, like protein powders and things like that, if I understand correctly. And so it was all big ag,
Yep.
big dairy, and then supplements. And when they gave them recommendations, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was something like, was it 54 or 84 recommendations that were given, and only 25% were accepted. A lot of the recommendations were thrown out, and new studies were presented that were published without transparency, meaning they weren't showing who wrote what the people who did write it, what their background was. Are there any biases? Which is so important. So my background is I have a master's in health science, lots of studies in epidemiology and biostatistics, and that's one of the first things we look at. If somebody from the egg board wrote this research project, then there's obviously going to have some biases because they're part of the egg board. Does that mean that they're research was incorrect? No, but we do need to really dig in and make sure that it's not biased and read it from that lens. Well, when they don't tell us the background of the researchers, then we don't know what their biases are. And as someone who has created studies, it is very, very easy to sway a study to say what you want it to say.
Oh yeah, and they obviously have here because this is like back in the dark age food pyramid because there's
Yeah.
plenty of true evidence showing that if you are eating a lot of meat and dairy, your
Yeah.
risk of heart disease goes up.
Yeah.
And we already have a heart disease problem.
It's our number one killer among Americans.
I
Our
heard
number one
somebody
killer.
say recently, somebody said that it's going to be really good for the cardiologists, for the surgeons,
Right.
because they're
That's
going to get more patients
right.
if they
This
follow this.
this program feeds big ag, feeds big dairy, and feeds our medical system.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's going to influence what our children are eating in the schools. So not everything was bad. There were some things that were good when they really focused on processed foods and they focused on eliminating artificial colors and all those things that are in those artificial foods. And so it's definitely more whole food based, not whole food plant based, but whole food based. And so that's really good because I know my daughter, when she was in school, she would bring home part of her breakfast every day because it was a box of raisins that were sour raisins. So they had added sugars, like gummy bears, sour gummy bears. It's just like that made with raisins. And so it had added sugars and colors. I mean, and it had chemicals on the raisins, like raisins. Kids, like little kids, they love raisins. There's no reason to alter the raisins. But that qualified with the federal nutrition guidelines to have these sour raisins for breakfast, which is absolutely ridiculous. And so I'm glad that they got rid of things like that.
It is a good, yeah. I mean, it's not all crap, but I'm glad they are addressing chemicals in the food.
Yes.
So, and I've noticed that they have up the protein requirement. They're saying now you need 1.2 to 1.6 grams per kilogram per day.
Hmm.
When I was in school in dietetics, it was 1.7 to zero point 0.7 to zero point 0.8 per kilogram. So
Right. Right. So it's
that's up
really
quite a bit.
creeping up there. Right. And when people read that, they think they need to eat more. Another thing they put on there was 84 grams. That's where I'm getting the 84. 84 grams of protein in a week, of animal protein in a week. And 3 ounces of three servings of 3 to 4 ounces of animal products a day. And so that would mean 3 ounces of meat or chicken or another animal based protein for breakfast, lunch, and dinner every single day. So, that's going to put you way, way, way over the saturated fat. It's very acidic. And so those of you in our natural healing world know, it's very acidic. What likes acid? A more acidic environment, bacteria and cancers. And so we're going to have that. We're going to have more heart disease as well. And we already have a trouble with big ag as far as raising the cows and the chickens and these huge farms to feed our needs right now. If everyone had to eat meat 3 times a day, that means we're going to need more and more of these big farms, which means we're going to have more and more of those waste ponds. And you've seen people, there's so many people that have high cancer that live near these farms where these big waste pools are because there's a horrible runoff that's full of chemicals and it's just all this waste that people are exposed to. And so that's going to get worse. Forestry is going to get worse. Our environment is going to get worse if we try to meet those needs.
Yeah, they failed to mention again that plant-based sources of protein are just as good for building muscle without all the saturated fat and actually lower your risk of heart disease. They
Yes.
don't even talk about that in this pyramid. It's like you had to have animal food. No, you don't. It's been proven now through real science
Right.
that plant food, plant protein builds muscle just as well as animal protein.
Yes. Yes, real studies are out there and real people are out there who eat.
Yes.
Yes, I mean, I've been eating whole food plant-based for 10 years. Yeah, just plants. I don't need any animal products. And so that's crazy. And you've been even longer than me, and you strength train and teach. I strength train, but I'm not a coach in that manner. Something else that they said on there, or maybe I shouldn't go away from that yet. I'm talking about the protein. We can definitely meet our protein needs with plants. The body needs amino acids that doesn't need animal protein. And the same with our other large animals. Even whales. Yeah, we have whales, we have large animals in the sea, we have cows, we have elephants, we have giraffes. These are huge animals and they don't need animal protein. They eat the amino acids that we get when we eat those animals. And so let's skip that because eating the plant proteins is alkalinizing and helps to prevent heart disease, cancer, all these other diseases. It's much more important to get your amino acids from plants than from animal proteins.
And I had it kind of in my mind, the bodybuilder Tory Washington. I looked at his
Yes.
diet
Mm-hmm.
and go check if you don't believe it, go check his diet out. He's got it on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
It's a clean vegan diet. He eats clean too, like mostly vegetables, and he has tofu and things like that. And he just got his pro card, I think. So it's definitely possible, and you will be healthier. I mean, the most important thing is I tell people, why does it matter if you look like $1 million on the outside, but
Yeah.
you look like trash on the inside?
Exactly. Exactly. Health comes from the inside. Exactly. Yeah, I had a client yesterday who asked me how I have such nice nails. She was like, "You had radioactive iodine. So you don't even have a thyroid. So how do you have nice nails? My nails are destroyed." Well, she doesn't eat a healthy diet. I eat a healthy diet. I have strong hair. My eyebrows all grew back. I have strong fingernails. And I don't have any calcium from cheese and dairy, right? And so you don't need those foods. You can still grow muscle. You can still have healthy, clear skin, healthy nails, and things like that. So, something else that disturbed me on this food guide pyramid was they're recommending 3 servings of vegetables and 2 servings of fruits a day. And
Hmm.
so that's horrible. And what is grouped in there, even potatoes are grouped in there, legumes are grouped in there. And so I could eat beans and potatoes. I could have French fries, mashed potatoes, and a baked potato, and I just met my vegetable needs for the day.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
I hope nobody follows this. This is like back
exactly.
to the dark ages. I mean,
Exactly.
they're going back 40 years with this garbage.
Yes, the recommendations were that they separated the groups to leafy greens, red and orange foods, and non-starchy vegetables. And they haven't broken that down at all. Yeah.
Well, another thing they're talking about that butter and beef tallow
Yeah.
are good things to cook your food in.
Good luck not
Because I
getting
think these are the ones
saturated
that
fat.
tell you, yeah, yeah. They'll say, and I'm sure these people that, you've heard the thing, oh, it's not about saturated fat's not bad. They don't, I hear people, if your LDL goes up, that's perfectly okay. It's,
Right.
it's, I'm like, oh, wow. And it's not okay. I remember there was
Right.
a German doctor talking about, they said America, they're trying to tell people, and it's not most of the doctors, it's like some of the diet cultists over here, they'll say that it's okay if your cholesterol is 300 or more. You'll live longer and all this and the doctors in Germany go, no, that's not true at all. I mean,
Right.
you're gonna have a heart attack.
Right. Right. Yeah, the studies show that you do need lower cholesterol, not higher cholesterol. And cholesterol is a sign of inflammation. And so it's inflammation anywhere in the body. And so it's affecting, it increases your chronic disease. We have to have it lower. And so maybe it's not because there's plaque in the arteries. It may be inflammation going somewhere else in the body. It could be another autoimmune disease hovering in the distance. It could be lingering long-term viruses in the body as well. So if you do have high LDL, there's something going on in the body that needs to be reversed. And there are ways to help with food with that, and eating more animal products and high whole fat dairy is not going to help with that.
And there's another people on the bandwagon that your brain runs on fat. So if you're eating a really low fat diet, it's going to give you dementia. But I would ask these people to go check out the latest work of Colin Campbell. He's actually reversing early stage Alzheimer's disease with a low fat plant-based diet. Go check that out. It's actually real science and he's got proof.
Right, right,
There's just so many lies going around. People are so confused.
right. And then there's the have less alcohol. What does that mean?
I don't
What does that
know.
mean? Have
I
less
don't
alcohol.
know.
Yeah, where it
It
used to
said two
be,
six packs, one six pack.
right. Yeah, I mean, it used to be like a glass of wine for a woman or two glasses for a man or something like that. Yeah, and so that's another one. Yeah,
God, man, this is just it's like a bunch of grade school people put together.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
just made for confusion. It's leading people astray and it's confusing them.
right, right. Now,
People
what
gonna gain weight.
yes, exactly. And especially what it's going to do is hurt. So the general public doesn't really follow the food guide pyramid. They or food
Yeah.
guidelines. They may notice it, read about it. Maybe they're interested in nutrition. And so, they're seeing it. And if they just glance at it, then they're going, oh, wow. See, I told you I should be eating meat 3 times a day or eating this meat and cheese or eating this keto diet, right? Which, whew, we definitely know keto, that totally tears up your microbiome, especially when you eat an animal-based keto with high protein and cheese. Um, and they're pushing the protein first where we prefer a greens first or a vegetables first diet. Those are the most important things to help you. I forgot where I was going with this. But so the general public doesn't look at it, but what it's going to hurt is our most vulnerable populations, kids in schools and daycares, and our seniors in facilities, in hospitals. So our hospitals already give us crap, and so now
Oh,
it's just going to be even more crap. It just won't have the dye in it.
I just feel like they're an enemy of the public. This is an enemy. I mean, if you really go if you eat this way, you're going to gain weight. I'm going to tell you something. This looks like a bodybuilder's diet that wants to put on 30 pounds.
Right, right.
You'll get fat on this diet. This is
And then
way
you'll
too
have a heart
much
attack.
protein and fat. Yeah,
Right,
this is not how somebody would eat that wants to be healthy and lean and have nice numbers and nice cholesterol. Uh, you know, I don't know. This is kind of infuriating to me because I really care about. That's why I do this job, is I care about helping people, and this is not going to help them.
right, exactly. But there are ways that we can increase protein. You could increase it. If you think you do need to eat more protein, there are times where you need a little more protein. If you're pregnant, if you had an injury or surgery, um, those times, then you may need, if you are bodybuilding, you may need more protein. You may not need as much as they're saying on there. But if
Oh,
we're trying to focus on more protein, for us, we turn to the legumes and seeds, legumes and seeds, and then even our greens. So our greens, percentage wise, can compete with animal products, but you would have to eat a whole heck of a lot. If you look at that container of that 4 ounce container of spinach, percentage wise, is loaded with protein. But if you cook that, it's down to this.
yeah.
Right? It's not going to give you as much protein as eating some animal products, which is why we need to eat a varied diet. So we need to eat lots of greens, cook them down so you can eat more of them, But then add in some proteins like beans, lentils, tofu, tempeh, edamame, and then seeds. I like seeds first before nuts. Nuts are very high in fat, though they do contain some protein. And so doing those things can easily meet your protein needs. And what do they add that the animal products don't add? Fiber, which is what our microbiome needs. If we don't have fiber, we don't have a healthy microbiome. We have to have that fiber. And so that makes me think of something else I didn't think about before. If I'm focusing on 3 ounces of meat 3 times a day, how the heck am I going to meet my fiber needs when right now the average American doesn't meet our fiber needs? And those are bare minimum. 25 grams a day is, I don't know what it does, what it says on the new one, but you're not going to be able to meet that. And if people already are not going to meet that, they're going to be constipated and their microbiome is going to be wrecked as well. And so that's very, very discouraging. So I didn't even think about that before. So we have to think of this vegetable need as a bare minimum. So when we're talking about things that we can do to help with our health, we need to really focus on the greens, which I already mentioned, which they recommended that we do have. The recommendation that was sent to the board was to focus on a greens group. So we should have greens throughout the day. We need greens, some cooked greens, some raw greens is what Dr. Furman suggests. Um, Past pyramids recommended more greens or plates, but we have to have some greens like in lettuces or salads or cooked, steamed, and stir fries. There's so many different ways you can put greens. People have green smoothies, things like that. And then another recommendation is our reds and our oranges, which they didn't mention in the food guide pyramid. They didn't separate them at all. But our red and our orange foods are high in beta carotene. We've heard they eat carrots for your eyes. So our eyes need that. And we hear, like, I don't know what percentage of people or Americans have cataracts and have to have cataract surgery every year. We want to make sure we're eating these foods and they're better, you better absorb those if it's cooked. And so making sure that you have these every day, which is why I always say eat the rainbow. My number one rule is always read the ingredients to remove those artificial flavors and colors, which thank goodness are on there, but always eat the rainbow. So adding in those red and orange foods, sweet potatoes, winter squashes, different shades of red, red bell pepper, red tomato, red chard, things like that. Adding in your cruciferous vegetables is crucial as well. And that can be in the form of your greens like kale or arugula, but it could also be broccoli or cabbage or turnips, radishes. And if you've never tried roasted radishes, they are fabulous. I've never really liked the raw ones because they have that sharp bite. When you roast it, it gets rid of that sharpness. Roasted radishes, whoo, love them. And then adding in legumes. And so if you do the 3 servings of vegetables, remember you need A, variety, but B, remember that is the bare minimum. You're going to survive, but you're definitely not going to thrive or have optimal health. You want greens, you want red and orange veggies, cruciferous vegetables. Look that up if you don't know what that is, or comment and I'll let you know. And legumes, our lentils and our beans, even soy tofu, tempeh, and things like that.
Yes, variety is a spice of life here. And, they,
Yes.
and they're taking it away from us. They're saying, oh, just have 3 vegetables and 2 fruits. Like, come on now.
Yes. Yes. And so I think that, in summary, uh, it's too much animal products. And even adding, so I have to agree, if I had to choose between whole milk and skim milk, the whole milk is going to be, there's pros and cons to both. The whole milk is very high in saturated fat. So when they tell you milk has 2% fat or 4% fat, that is by weight. That is not the way all of our foods are measured. It's actually 50% fat. Our whole milk dairy is 50% fat. It's a lie the way they put it on the label, but for some reason they can put that legally. They don't have to count the water when they're calculating that. If they added the water amount that's in there, it's 50% fat. And so when they do skim milk, it has other things in it. and that's not on the label. And so skim milk is not a healthy food at all. But whole milk is not a healthy food either. And so I'm glad that they're not having people drink skim milk, but they need to get rid of whole milk as well.
Yeah, I mean, there's ignoring so much evidence that dairy is also high in saturated fat. And we already talked about all this, but it will lead to disease and weight gain. You'll gain weight on dairy, and if you have asthma or any kind of a mucus problem, dairy is going to flare it up.
Yes, yes, and it's connected to leaky gut. It is connected to chronic diseases. It's connected to autoimmune disease, and it doesn't say anything about having organic. And so it's
Yeah.
also full of hormones and things like that too. We have to remember dairy milk, cow's milk, is meant to raise a baby cow to its full size in a year. So it is full of insulin, like growth factor. And if you are an adult, you don't need to grow anymore. You don't need that. You don't need that. You don't need to gain all that weight that Dan had talked about before. So, do you have anything else you want to add before we wrap this one up?
I would just say if you're really serious about getting healthy this year, I would not look at this pyramid. I would go check out some other people like Neil Bernard, John McDougall. I mean, they're still doing his stuff, even though he's not with us anymore. Esselstyn. Look at the plant-based doctors.
Yes, and I like even Canada's food plate. I haven't looked, I don't know if they've changed it recently, but the last one I saw was actually, it was right on target. They have a really great one.
Oh
Too very
yeah.
plant-based. Yes, I love that. And also check out Brenda Davis. She's one of my favorites when it comes to teaching nutrition. So the takeaway is the new federal guidelines, they are being disputed. I don't know what will happen with that, but there are some yeses. Drinking your water, fewer sugary drinks, less added sugar, and fewer ultra-processed foods, additives, and food dyes. But then there are huge, major contradictions, especially around saturated fats. The details in the vegetables, very vague about what does it mean to drink less alcohol. And then the saturated fat controversy. And then they are using people who have strong ties to money and not to health. They need people who are experts in health and nutrition to be making the decisions about our nutrition. It's okay to have those people on the board, but where are the experts in the nutrition science? I don't know. So, if you want to do something simple this week to help with your health, make one meal a plant protein meal if you're not already. Hopefully, all of you are. We love to teach people about this. We love to focus on beans and lentils, which a lot of people are afraid to eat these days, with a whole grain, which is also something I'm glad that they talked about on the food guide pyramid. We didn't mention that, but if you can tolerate them. And notice how much easier it is to hit your protein goals without exceeding those saturated fats. Eat a plant-based diet. We love that. So, Dan and I both like to work with clients one on one, and we would love to work with you. You can find Dan at danthenaturalman.com. He also has a great YouTube channel full of information, and you can find me at holisticgen.com. That is with a W, Holistic Gen. If you enjoyed this episode, please let us know. And we love to hear from you. So please comment and share your thoughts on the food guide pyramid. And we will talk to you again next week. Thanks for joining.